Hello, my name is Arif Syed, and this is one of my training videos from my JavaScript class. Usually at the end of a JavaScript class, we teach how to create an internet application using JavaScript and Ajax. As you know, the real benefit of JavaScript comes from Ajax. Now, for those of you who do not know what Ajax is, Ajax stands for Asynchronous JavaScript and XML. It basically is in a nutshell, it creates an application which goes ahead and transports data or exports and imports data without refreshing the page. And you see its application on a daily basis when you go to your email or Google, when you type a key press, and it automatically shows you the rest of the word. So that's what Ajax is. In one sense, it's very simple. So if you are familiar with JavaScript, then this would be a good advancement for you. Now, before we move on, I'd like to show you what it is that we're really going to do here. We are going to actually demonstrate the creation of a web-based application like a spreadsheet that will allow data on the web page to dynamically be updated without reloading the page. Of course, we are going to use HTML and CSS, which is the standard for web, and an input form, along with a table of empty cells. And the first part of this video, I am going to actually create the HTML file. I've already created the CSS file along with it, so that's something that we're going to go ahead and use. But what we're going to do is, and I've also created the XML file. I'm going to show you all that towards the end of my thing. But let me first start off by showing you a demonstration of the application that I've created. So as you can see in my video here, this is the spreadsheet program. It has rows and it has columns. And what you see is that these numbers are being populated from the XML file. Now, this could be like your sales total or something for your manager from the database. And notice that on the web that these totals are providing the column totals as well as the row totals, and this other figure here is showing the grand total. Okay. At the bottom is the form that we're going to create, and this is the form which is basically going to add, allow us to update on the fly without refreshing the page. So notice that if you see here, this is row number 2 and column number 2, you see 8.00 here. Now you notice that the total of the row is 34.00 and the total of the column is 24.00. Now I'm going to go ahead and update that. So I select row 2 and column 2, and on the fly, I'm going to actually go ahead and update this to 8.25. And when I click and update, notice how instantly this becomes 8.25, and now this is at 24.25 and 34.25. So that's basically what it is. So before you continue, you must have a personal web server. I am currently using, and I'm going to go ahead and basically go back to the 100% right now. And here's the local host that I'm using. As you can see, this is the training center where I teach, and I'm also the school director of ABCO Technology. Our website address is www.abcotechnology.edu, and you can definitely contact us for more classes. And please do not forget to subscribe for more training videos or make requests for videos, and we're going to go ahead and do that for our students or for everybody. So let's begin. So you can see that I have a personal web server installed because Ajax is a server-side include and cannot work from a client, even though JavaScript is client-side application. And here we are going to go ahead and use Dreamweaver. So as usual, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start by creating a local HTML file. And here you notice that the doc type and everything is already inserted. As usual, I'm going to go ahead and begin by providing a title for the application. Let's call it our Ajax, JavaScript application. So that's the head is there, and now we get into the body section. Now we're going to actually begin by first creating creating the table. So let's begin. I'm very excited about this, and I'm sure you guys are too. So let's go ahead and start with the div tag. So I'm going to enclose the entire thing in a div tag, and I'm going to go ahead and give this an arbitrary name. In this particular case, I'm going to call it the data box, okay, because that's where the data is coming from. And within this data box, I'm going to go ahead and create my table. So as you saw in the application, that as part of our planning, this table has 3 rows, but then there's a header row. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the table tag. That's the reason why I used Dreamweaver to write my code, because it suggests all the tags, makes it easier for me. But I'm not giving the table any dimensions because we're going to handle that through CSS. And this is going to be our first row at the table now, because the first column, as you'll notice, is the column which displays the rows. So I'm going to leave this corner column blank. This is the corner column of there. And now we're going to go ahead and start. Now each of the heading rows, I'm going to use the same thing. So I'm going to use a class for this one, because you can repeat classes, but you cannot repeat IDs. ID can only be used once to a container, but class can be reused. So I'm going to use a class. Now obviously I haven't attached my CSS file here, but just let's say because it's for a column, we'll call it col, and that's an arbitrary name. And basically we are going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to call it column1, and then we're going to do a /td. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this particular one, because the rest of the columns is going to have the same thing, and I'm going to go ahead and, so this is going to be column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5. So let me go ahead and, this is a quick way for us to really type through the application. So you have 1, 2, and then you have 3, and then you have 4, and then you have 5. Now there has to be one more column that we're going to include in this one, and this column is basically going to be for the total. As you saw, the last column was the total, and in this one also we're going to include the class, and I'm going to call it tot as in short for total, and we're going to label this column as total2 as well. The reason why I'm setting up this class is so that I can give it a different background color for the total. And now you see that that's the end of our first row. So this is basically creating our table right now. Now we go further, and we go ahead and create now row 1, row 2, and row 3. So again, we're going to go ahead and leave one more space. As you know that HTML ignores white space. Now, just for the sake of it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, in order to center my video so that it does not appear too down, I'm going to just go ahead and hit a few enter to move this thing up here. And now I'm going to go ahead and put over here the end of the row. We'll later bring this up. This is one of the best ways. Now again, this time, because this is going to be the actual row, so this is our second row in a sense. Now notice here I'm going to actually do something, is in this first cell I'm going to use a class which I'm going to call it as row this time, because this is the row that I want to actually recognize, and I'm going to call this row, so there will be 1 here, and there's the TD for that. Now the cells, in order to target the cells, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the cell its own ID. And what I did was I labeled the cells going from each row from left to right. And since I'm going to be using an array, and arrays always start with a 0. So I'm going to go ahead and give it an ID of N0, and then go ahead and close it. The cells are right now going to be empty. The reason is because we are going to populate the cells through the XML file, and that's what makes the whole portion of Ajax. So once again, you can notice that I'm going to copy this particular one because I'm going to repeat that throughout the row. So that's N1, then N2, N3, N4. Now 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 row, 5 columns already. So the last one that I'm going to go ahead and basically do is is going to have a column. So again, I'm going to go ahead and give it, this is going to be the row total. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to label it as RT1. I still gave it an ID because it's going to actually contain the total. But to use a particular color, I'm also going to give it a class of dot, so that the background comes the same as the one above. So the ID is for the calculation, the class is for the designing. But it's also going to be empty at this point because it's going to get added and populated through JavaScript formula. And that, as you can see, completes our first row. And I'm going to go ahead and now bring this back up. And this is just to keep myself organized, because I typed that. So there you are. So that is the table's first row setup. Now this way we are going to go ahead and go ahead and basically set up row 2, row 3, and then we'll come to the total row. So let me go ahead and copy this again, because what I want to do, and the other thing is I want to go ahead and change these numbers here because I actually copied. So this is cell N1, then N2, then N3, and then N4. So there you are. Now watch this. Here's where I am able to copy this part, and I'm going to again leave some space here, and let me move this up ahead. And you notice here that this is where the second row came in. And notice that the ID of each cell has to be unique. So what I'm really doing here is I'm going to go ahead and change the row number to row number 2. And as you can see up here, that the last cell was N4. So this will now begin with N5, N6, N7, N8, and then it ends at N9. And then this becomes RT2. Okay, so that's where you are with the whole thing. Now again, we go down and we press, and this one is going to bring in row number 3, which is also, as you saw in there, the one that is going to have data. So again, we have this to be row number 3, and the last number, as you saw up there, that the last number was used was N9. So we're going to start here with N10, N11, N12, N13, and N14. And that is where our row ends. And now comes the last row of this whole table, and then we will end the table. And this row is going to actually be the row in which we are going to go ahead and create the this is going to be the one which is going to have the totals from the column. So I'm going to still copy and paste here, but I may have to change a few things, as you will see now, that basically the class is going to now be, instead of row, now the class is going to be dot again, because it's a total. And here again, we're going to type the word total here. And then the ID this time is not going to be N, because it's a column total. So just like we had RT for row total, this one will be CT1, then you'll have CT2, then you will have CT3, and you will have CT4, and you will have CT5, and then finally this one, the last one, will be the corner one, which is called the grand total, and we'll have it as grand total. We'll give it its own class also because it has its own background. So let's call it GTO and not GT0. And because this is a total, I'm still going to give it a class called tot. So that part, I'm still going to use it. So let me just copy this part here. You see, a lot of times you can just copy and paste when you're creating HTML instead of typing everything, because it makes it easier for you. But of course, you have to know what you're doing. So because these are totals, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm just going on with it. I'm sure that if any of you are not understanding, they can definitely, go ahead and rewind and listen to it again. And if you still don't understand it, you know that I'm from ABCO Technology, and you can actually email me. Now, the last part is my table is done at this point, but if I just show you the table, you're not going to see anything because remember, I did not add any borders. So the only thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add let me go ahead and first of all, let me save this file. Now, generally, I would suggest that you basically, save this, and we're going to go ahead and, call this as, ABCO Ajax, .php, and I just gave it PHP because I've configured my local web server to basically do that. And once I save this file, the CSS that I've created, let me add that CSS. So if you have a JavaScript or CSS file, here's how you can add the CSS file. So basically, we go ahead and click link, and then hit space, and then select the type to be text/CSS, and then we're going to add the style. Because it's a style sheet, I'm going to basically go ahead and add the style sheet to it. Notice that this is again the advantage of Dreamweaver, but like I said, you don't have to use Dreamweaver. You can use any JavaScript editor to do this, but it's better. Don't use Microsoft Word. And then finally, the file that we're going to add here is actually ajax.css. I didn't want to spend time showing you how I prepared the CSS, but at some point maybe I will, add that part. So there you are, and we're going to go ahead and save the file. Now, I'm not going to run this file through the server, only because otherwise it will, populate. So I'm just going to go ahead and press, preview it from the client end to show you. There you see, let me go ahead and expand that. There you see my table is prepared. This is our column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our row 1, 2, 3, 5. This is where the totals are going to come in for the columns. This is where you see the total for the rows, and this will be the grand total. So what you see right now is a plain HTML file, but now with the help of JavaScript and Ajax, we're going to go ahead and populate it in video number 2. Thank you, and I hope you've enjoyed it so far. Please do not forget to subscribe, and I would appreciate some comments, positive or concerns as well, but positive is always good. Thank you.